deep within the sunless bowels of the earth, where the air is thick with the scent of incense and old parchment, lies the great hall of judgment. At the center of this hall sits Wang, the king of hell, draped in heavy robes of obsidian silk and wearing a crown that shimmers with an eerie, cold light. His eyes are not filled with malice, but with a terrifying, absolute neutrality that has witnessed the end of a million lifetimes. Beside him, the ox-headed and horse-faced guardians stand like statues of iron, their breath smelling of sulfur and the echoes of the underworld. Today, the line of souls stretching into the misty distance was unusually quiet, for a presence had arrived that felt like a candle in a dark cave. A man named Wei stood before the high days, his clothes simple and his face devoid of the frantic terror that usually consumes the newly deceased. Wang opened the ledger of life and death, his long fingernails clicking against the pages as he searched for the man's recorded sins. Wei of the southern province, the king's voice boomed, vibrating through the stone floors and the very bones of the spirits present. You lived 70 years, yet my book shows no record of a single crime, no lie told, and no heart broken by your hand. The king frowned, for in his thousands of years of ruling Diu, a perfectly clean ledger was a rarity that often signaled a deep, hidden deception. Speak, mortal, Wang commanded. Do you claim that you are a saint, or is my record keeper failing in his duty to track your darkness? Wei bowed low, his movements graceful despite the weight of the judgment hall pressing down upon his spirit. I claim no sainthood, great king, Wei replied, his voice steady. I only claim that I lived as a man who understood the weight of a shadow. Wang leaned forward, his massive shadow looming over the man like a mountain about to collapse. Every man has a shadow, Wei. To live is to leave a mark, and marks are often messy, bloody, or stained with greed. The king signaled to the judge of the first court, who held a shimmering mirror, the mirror of retribution which reveals one's past. Usually, the mirror shows blood, stolen coins, or faces of betrayed lovers. But when turned toward Wei, it showed only a quiet garden. It showed Wei as a child, returning a lost bird to its nest, as a youth, giving his only meal to a starving beggar, and as a man, tending to the sick. The court of hell fell into a suffocating silence, the flickering blue flames of the lanterns dimming in the presence of such purity. Wang tapped his fingers on the armrest of his throne, his expression shifting from suspicion to a profound, curious intrigue. I see your deeds, the king whispered, but I do not see your desire. Now man is good simply for the sake of being good without a hidden price. Wei looked up, his eyes meeting the terrifying gaze of the king of hell without flinching or looking away. The price, great king, was the burden of knowing that every action ripples into the lives of others like stones dropped in a pond. I did not act out of a hope for a golden heaven, nor out of a fear of your burning pits, Wei added softly. The horse-faced guardian snorted, steam curling from his nostrils. Liar. All mortals fear the king of hell. All mortals crave the nectar of the gods. But Wang raised a hand, silencing his guardian instantly, his focus entirely locked on the humble soul before him. If you do not fear me, Wei, then why have you come here to appeal your destiny instead of walking the bridge to rebirth? Wei sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of the wind over the wheat fields he once tended. I have come to appeal not for my own soul, but for the soul of the man who took my life, Wei said, shocking the entire court. The ledger of life and death glowed crimson as it revealed the moment of Wei's passing. A thief had struck him down for a bag of seeds. Wang's brow furrowed. The thief is already marked for the iron grinding mill. He will suffer for 3 centuries before his soul is even considered for rebirth. Wei knelt on the cold stone floor, his hands clasped in a gesture of profound supplication. That is why I appeal, great king. He killed me because he was hungry, and his hunger was a failure of the world, not just his heart. If you punish him for the desperation that the world forced upon him, then you are punishing the victim of a larger sin, Wei argued. The demons in the shadows began to murmur, their voices sounding like the dry rustle of dead leaves in a winter storm. Never in the history of the underworld had a victim appear before the king of hell to defend his own murderer. Wang stood up, his massive stature reaching the ceiling of the hall, his presence filling every corner of the room with overwhelming power. You dare to lecture the king of hell on the nature of justice? The king roared, the ground trembling beneath Wei's knees. I am the balance. I am the scales. I do not look at the world's failures, I look at the individual's choice. Wei did not move, his spirit remaining as firm as an ancient oak tree in the middle of a hurricane. If your scales only measure the act and not the cause, then your balance is weighted with lead, not truth, Wei replied boldly. The guards stepped forward to seize him, their hooks gleaming. But Wang signaled them to stay their hands once more. The king of hell felt a sensation he had not felt in an eon, a spark of doubt in the absolute nature of his own loss. He looked back at the ledger, seeing the thief's life a cycle of poverty, abandonment, and a cold society that turned its back. The law of Diu is ancient, Yan Wang murmured, his voice now low and contemplative. It is built on the foundation of an eye for an eye. But an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. Great king. Surely the king of the dead sees more than just the missing eyes, Wei whispered. Yan Wang sat back down, the heavy thud of his body against the throne echoing through the silent, watching assembly. He thought of the billions of souls he had judged, the endless cycle of punishment that seemed to never truly cure the darkness of the human heart. What do you propose, mortal? If I release the thief, where is the justice for your stolen years? Yan Wang asked. Wei smiled, a gentle light appearing around his spirit that made the horse-faced guardian cover his eyes in discomfort. Give him my ears. Give him the peace I had in my garden. Let him see what it means to live without the hunger that bites like a wolf. You would sacrifice your rest in the pure land to give a killer a chance at a life he destroyed. Yan Wang's voice was full of disbelief. I have already lived, king. I have tasted the water of the spring and seen the sunrise. He has only seen the mud and the dark, Wei said. Yan Wang turned to his judge of records. Is there a precedent for a soul transferring its merit to another in the hall of judgment? The judge scrambled through scrolls that were miles long, sweating under the king's intense and expectant gaze. Only in the most ancient of scriptures, my lord, and it requires the king's own life force to seal the contract, the judge stammered. The court gasps. For the king of hell to use his own essence for a mortal was a request that bordered on the impossible. Yan Wang looked at Wei, searching for any trace of pride or hidden ego in the man's heart, but he found only a vast ocean of compassion. The world thinks of me as a monster, Yan Wang said, his voice echoing with a strange, hidden melancholy. They think I enjoy the screams of the damned and the smell of the burning oil. They do not realize I am a prisoner of the law as much as they are. Wei nodded slowly. The ruler of the prison is often the one who never gets to leave the gates. Yan Wang laughed, then a sound that was rarely heard in hell, a deep, resonant boom that startled the lost souls in the distance. You are a strange man, Wei. You have come to the center of darkness to bring a light that even I find difficult to hold. The king raised his scepter, which was topped with a skull carved from white jade, and struck the floor 3 times. With each strike, the blue flames turned a brilliant, searing white, and the mist in the hall cleared to reveal the true beauty of the architecture. I will grant your appeal, Yan Wang announced, his voice carrying the finality of a mountain's decree. The thief shall not be ground in the mills. Instead, he shall be reborn into a life of stability, guided by the merit you have earned. But there is a catch, the king added, his golden eyes narrowing slightly. The balance must still be maintained in this hall. Wei bowed his head. I am prepared for whatever price you ask, great king. Since you believe so strongly in the cause of sins, you shall stay here, by my side. As an advisor of mercy, Yan Wang declared, you will sit beneath my throne and review the ledgers before I pass my final sentence, to ensure the shadow is always considered. The court was in an uproar. A mortal, even a spirit, sitting so close to the throne of the king of hell was unheard of. But Wei looked up, and for the first time, he saw the man behind the mask of the king, a tired soul who had been doing a difficult job alone for too long. It would be an honor to serve the balance, great king, Wei replied, his spirit settling into a new, eternal purpose. Yan Wang reached out a hand, and a small portion of his black silk robe turned into a cushion for Wei to sit upon at the foot of the dais. The thief's soul, which had been cowering in a lower cell, was suddenly bathed in a warm light and whisked away toward the wheel of reincarnation. He would wake up as a child in a loving home, with the potential to be a healer or a teacher, all because of a man he had once killed. From that day on, the great hall of judgment felt different. The air was a little less heavy, and the screams from the distance seemed to soften. Yan Wang no longer judged with just the cold logic of the law. He would often pause and look down at Wei, who would point out the hidden context of a soul's life. They became a legendary duo, the king who knew the law, and the man who knew the heart. The ox-headed and horse-faced guardians eventually grew used to the presence of the good man who shared their eternal watch. Sometimes, Wei would even share stories of the surface world, of the smell of jasmine and the sound of children laughing with the king. Yan Wang found that his own anger grew less frequent, and the cold light of his crown began to glow with a warmer, more golden hue. The souls who came to the hall began to hear of the appeal of Wei, and hope started to flicker even in the darkest corners of the underworld. Justice was still served, for those who were truly wicked still faced the consequences of their choices. But the why was never ignored. Wei realized that his appeal had not just saved one thief, but had begun to transform the very nature of hell itself. It was no longer just a place of punishment, but a place of profound reflection and, eventually, a path to true redemption. One evening, after judging a particularly complex case, Yan Wang looked at Wei and asked, do you ever regret not going to the Pure Land? Wei looked at the flickering lanterns and the vast, orderly line of souls waiting for their turn to be understood. Heaven is beautiful, I am sure, Wei replied. But there is no work to be done in a place that is already perfect. Here, in the shadows, is where the light is needed most, Wei added with a humble smile. Yan Wang nodded, feeling a sense of companionship that filled the void in his immortal heart. The king of hell realized that the most powerful force in any realm, living or dead, was the willingness to see the humanity in another. The legend of Yan Wang and the good man spread to the world above, reminding people that their actions had meaning beyond the surface. It taught the living that even the king of hell values mercy, and that a single act of selfless appeal can change the laws of the universe. The great hall remains there still, at the center of the earth, where the king and his advisor watch over the cycles of time. If you ever find yourself standing before the high days, remember that you are more than just the sum of your mistakes. You are a story with a shadow, and in the presence of Yan Wang and Wei, that story will finally be heard in its entirety. If you enjoyed this journey into the underworld, please comment your thoughts below. Like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio for more legendary tales.